A very good morning and a warm welcome to Hindustan Power presents the Economic Times Power Focus. May I now request Mr. Ratul Puri, Chairman Hindustan Power Projects, to please join us on the dais and address the audience. Let's put our hands together for him.
All members in the audience, a very warm welcome to you. These are truly exciting times for India. How much of a difference 1 year has made. The dramatic shift in mood I've seen, since the coming in of the new government, since the changes that have taken place, since the commitment to reform that we are seeing, since the development-oriented agenda we have seen. 12 months ago, I think, globally, everyone was almost writing India off. I think today, suddenly, everyone is looking at India as, the next major economy in the world, the next China. Everyone is India, I think, once again is in the limelight. I think there's a unique confluence of events, both global and local, that have come together to create this, what I believe is once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for India. I think, firstly, the aging of advanced economies. I think we're seeing aging populations in advanced economies. The one-child policy in China, which even though China is not an advanced economy, I think the one-child policy in China has aged China prematurely. Combined with India's demographic dividend, creates an opportunity where we will have 15 million people exiting the workforce globally and 10 million people entering the workforce in India each year from here for the next 2 decades. I think that's a unique opportunity and an opportunity that's never happened before. This combined with some more short-term events, the falling of global oil prices, combined with the fact that the world is awash in liquidity, creates a unique opportunity for India to go ahead and build out our economy significantly, develop our economy over the next 5, 10, 15 years. The world is today rich in energy and rich in capital. India is historically and continues to be poor in energy, poor in capital. So again, you have a confluence of events that allows India to become possibly the factory to the world. Adding to these global factors, I believe after a long period, we have a government in place that has a mandate, and a mandate that's based and driven by development. And I think that puts a tremendous pressure on the government to deliver on that mandate, to deliver on better days for the people of this country. We also have the benefit of a dynamic leader who has demonstrated his ability to deliver on development. As I said earlier, these are truly exciting times for India. But there are many challenges ahead of us. The skilling of the 10 million people that enter the workforce. If we don't skill these 10 million people, they're not employable, which means we don't have the people to put into the factories and the service centers that are needed to drive economic growth. Building out India's physical infrastructure, and most importantly, creating the right governance framework. Without sounding cliched, I'd like to tell the Honorable Minister that it's not just the fate of the stakeholders in this sector that are in his hands, but the future of 1 billion people depend on the actions that this government will take, over the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Because we can only have Achhe Din in a powerful India. Thank you very much.
And at this point, it is truly my privilege to invite on stage Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal ji. Let us put our hands together as he joins us to present his address and vision to reality, power supply to all.
Thank you very much. The theme of your conference very aptly is vision to reality, power for all. In terms of power generation, there are a lot of stalled projects. I have been discussing with bankers, and I think we finally got that 5 by 25 even for the existing projects. And that should give you some breathing space to at least move the needle away from NPAs and stressed assets problems temporarily, until such time as we can really get some larger funds to come into India, maybe bring in more equity into the system. And I'm very convinced that the current generating capacity and the stalled generating capacity which comes in, coupled with the increased thrust on closure of Hydel projects, completion the Teesta, the Subhansari, all of those which are at different stages of being stuck for a variety of reasons, and the solar and wind thrust that we are giving can actually achieve us the doubling of power generation by 2019. We have a short-term plan which has been executed, is under execution, so that by the summer of this year, we'll be moving at least 7,000 megawatt of power into Delhi. We also have a medium-term plan which is being executed over the next 2 years, which envisages an investment of 7,700 crores 7761 to be precise, which will take the entire system into an N-1 redundancy and provide stability to the entire Delhi grid, similar to the islanding of Delhi, similar to what we have in Mumbai. Enhance the substations, enhance the capacity of existing substations, bring in more transmission lines into the city, move towards smart metering of the higher-end consumers. We need to do some underground cabling in certain areas where there's a lot of power theft. So all of that has been planned as a medium-term measure so that by 2017 or thereabouts, we can have Delhi truly empowered as a 24/7 state. And taking it forward, we are also drawing a long-term plan to make Delhi plan for the next 20 years, 30 years, rather than plan for the next 5 years. And in that sense, all the departments, all the officials working under me have taken it upon themselves in a mission mode. I think together, the government and the private sector can truly make this vision turn into reality. And in that sense, I would appeal to all of you, please participate wholeheartedly in these programs, bring down the costs wherever you can, bring in more efficiency in the system, give us the ideas that you have to help us perform our role better. Thank you.
Welcome to the panel discussion of the day. The topic, as you know, is very, very focused. It says 24/7 electricity enablers transforming the power landscape in India. Now, assuming that we, all of us as a nation, and of course our political leadership now in place, wants 24/7 power, as Piyush ji said in his opening address, by 2019, right? That's what he said. So five years from now, you want 24/7, and that's really the topic of the day. So Lalit, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to go random. And I'm going to ask with saying that please present your thoughts that fit into this broad perspective of this format. Over to you, sir.
If I look across this entire chain of GTD, including the fuels and the last mile and everything, if you really see that generation is an area where government has put in 20 years of effort and a lot of thinking has gone in. Transmission is something which is coming into focus now. But the most neglected and where we only do lip service is the field of distribution. A quick snapshot of the distribution. 90% of the distribution is done by state electricity boards. And if you look at overall as an Indian country, the average difference in the tariff realized and the tariff which they need for optimal sustenance is 1.5 rupees, which is almost about 1,50,000 crores every single year, which is 1.5% of our national GDP. Let me give you what is required as a solution to this distribution problem. You need a management reform, and that management reform could either be, as Mr. Goyal mentioned, that you completely change the PSU mindset culture and the same GEB can make money and start doing well, or you privatize it or franchise it or whichever other form that you want to call it. Second part is the tariff reform, which is suffering dramatically in the country. The regulators, A, do not know the business, B, they are very politically inclined, and the idea was that we take away tariff from regulation. So you got to get the tariff correct, which is of course for everybody, and you got to get the management correct. Without this, I don't think there is a solution.
In his view, the real focus of everybody should be distribution. Over to Ratul.
I would actually go along with Lalit on what he said. I think the most difficult part of the entire supply chain, our value chain, to address is the distribution part, because it's a center state subject, because there are political overtones to whether it is losses that take place in the system, and we know what losses really mean, to raising tariffs. I think there's always negativity spread around raising tariffs. I think management can contribute to some extent of it, but I think the center needs to play a bigger role in this. And one of the ways the center can play a bigger role is by bringing in I don't know if I'm using the right term, but a fiscal prudence act, which to some extent forces or amendments in the Electricity Act that force distribution companies over some horizon to balance their books. Their purchase cost, their sale price, their losses in the system have to reflect, revenues and costs have to reflect reality. Along with that, I think independence of the regulator, I think Lalit again alluded to this, but some manner by which the regulator truly becomes independent. I think in a number of instances we've seen where the regulators after all are human beings, and they do get influenced by their environment. So the appointment of regulators needs to be made truly independent, which mandates in law that your books need to be balanced in some horizon with a trajectory also, not just an end goal point, but a trajectory to get there. I think these two factors will push political leadership, because if I know I have no choice but to balance my books, that means I only have three ways of doing it. Reduce my purchase cost, reduce the losses in the system, or raise my tariffs. The most difficult one out of them politically to do is raise tariffs. So that will automatically force, I think, the political leadership and states to focus upon hopefully the second one, or possibly the first one. And I think that will go a long way in terms of sorting out the challenge that we face, because something I spoke about earlier, we have a dichotomy. We have stranded assets. We have 70 gigawatts of diesel-fired generation capacity. So you have a consumer, you have a supplier, but you have you don't have an intermediary in the middle.
So we have the second panelist also pitching for distribution as the area for the maximum focus and prioritization. Let me try my luck with somebody else. Mr. Sushil Maru, MD and CEO of SR Power. Your views, sir?
We have to define the problem a little differently. We have to talk the problem in short-term, medium-term, and long-term manner. What is the short-term problem? Short-term problem rests with the fuel, and it rests with the transmission. Now, what are the problems we are facing from last 2 years and we are going to face in the next 2 years? Relates to the fuel and the transmission. What we have seen in the past, in the last 5 years, we have seen the average PLF in the country going down. We have a capacity for about more than 250,000 megawatt, but we are not producing that much. Why? It's not because the plants are not capable of producing, because the fuel is just not there. First attempt should be to increase the coal production, to make the existing coal mines, to bring the existing coal mines into production ASAP, and wherever required to get the coal import and take care of the tariff. That's the foremost priority. And the second, which is connected to that also, that what also we have seen in the last 3 years specifically. In the country, we have seen the transmission has created a lot of problem. In the last 5 years, we had a massive augmentation in the generation capacity, but that has not resulted into the higher power generation and going to the consumers. Why? Because the transmission was not there. So there may be distribution may still be available in some of the circles and some of the cities. But transmission really created havoc in the last 3 years specifically. So the priority for us today is take care of fuel, increase the PLF, get more power instantaneously, take care of the transmission, supply the power, reduce the cost, and make the industry viable and the power plant viable.
Now, I'm going to go across to Mr. Vijay Karia, Chairman, Ravin Group. Your view on the priority of the link of the chain.
The distribution, and add one more dimension to this, that distribution can be well augmented by renewable energy. That means, today you are facing a problem of supplying power, but let's look at the base problem. The base problem is not power tariffs as such. We talk of increase in power tariffs. On the higher end, you've got one of the highest power tariffs in the world. At the lowest end, you've got one of the lowest power tariffs in the world compared with Russia. The losses, Mr. Maru said that we can increase our generation by 50,000 megawatts or so by added fuel. But when you're facing losses of somewhere between 25 to 30%, so today India is losing more power by way of losses than what whole of Germany generates. So the more you generate, the more you will lose if you do not strengthen your distribution system. Ideally, you have posed a question which is, difficult to choose from, but I think if we are to see the short term, we need to strengthen distribution. But all the pointers that you have given need to go hand in hand if we are to come anywhere to achieving the 9% growth that we are talking about.
So with that, if with your permission, let me move on to Rahul. You want to go next?
I'll take the risk of repeating what has been said and put it in my own words. Today we're talking about 24/7 power, and not for Delhi, for all. The situation, I thought the panel was 24/7 power for all. Today we do not have the wherewithal to reach all. India is a very, very large country. For our grid to reach hinterlands in northeast, in the middle of Rajasthan, in the middle of other states where the grid can go to, but it will take time and will take a lot of money. I think the solution will have to be distributed solar. Solar, to make solar firm, of course, we need a battery solution. There is no doubt. But it is the fastest, quickest and cheapest way to reach these far-flung areas where the grid will not reach in the next 5, 7 or even 10 years. So if you talk about 2019 and you talk about power for all, I think a solar distribution generation for villages is what is needed.
So you are opting for this basket which I termed renewable. Now, I think the last panelist in the discussion, Mr. Rakesh Mardekar, President, Bajaj Electrical. So, your view, sir, which link in the chain?
See, I'm not focusing any one particular basket here, but at the same time, I'm going to touch upon a very, very important, significant aspects of the entire power sector, right from the generation, transmission, and distribution, is that part is execution of the projects. We are talking, I'm hearing from the 10th plan, 11th plan, but 2012 there will be power to all. Then focus was shifted to 15. Now there is a 19, and in the forums we talk about whether it is 19 or 2022, and lot of debates are going on there. We have a very good policies in place, investment plan in the place, a structure in place in terms of the policies and investment plan. We have the very good figures in terms of the generation, transmission and distribution reform was to be done. But the basic question is, karenge kaise? Who is going to implement? What's about the implementing agencies? This is one part. Another part is a very, very important, is the manpower requirement and their skill development. So what my focus here is, now we are represented in fact through the IMA to the Ministry of Power. There are 50,000 crores pending dues are from the government side to the contractors, all contractors, right? I'm talking only transmission and distribution, which is pending for the discussion. Once we award the contract, we means the various utilities and government, even to the EPC contractors, we don't want to hear them. Once contract award ho gaya, this is your duty, you somehow you finish it or come back, otherwise I will terminate on risk on cost, I will get it done from others. This ball game from one to one, it is going on for the years, and finally projects are not getting implemented because we are not having a structured way of implementing the project. The focus is missing truly.
So I think this panel ends on this rather conclusive note that after you heard the discussions, after you heard the Power Minister, after you read your Economic Times every morning and made up your mind, what we have is that this audience is telling the government very, very clearly our priority is on distribution, very, very clear. And after you've solved those problems, please get on to renewables.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've had a very good interaction with all of you this morning on the power sector. But I do feel very good to know that the conference is ending on a note of excellence. And in that sense, the fact that you chose to award the persons who are responsible for good work in this sector, for making this sector run, is a great encouragement for participants in the energy space. I know for a fact that several states have taken very big initiatives in this sector. And I'm sure in the days to come, as I said in the morning, all of us together can make that difference to this sector, which will truly make India power surplus, will help us take power to all Indians 24/7, help us industrialize in a big way, bring manufacturing to India, give the farmers enough power to be able to expand their output, increase their productivity. The energy sector, the power sector, has a very bright future, has tremendous investment potential, has tremendous potential to be the beacon for the expansion of the Indian economy, both rural and urban, and has the potential to transform the lives of the people of India. Thank you very much. The current government is talking about doing this sector for distribution for
See, this is a very, very important time, and that event is very important because this is a time where everybody is looking, the industry, the government, the new government, and the manufacturers, to find out very good solution for this power sector at this moment. Because we have seen a lot of clouds for last 2-3 years, and everybody is looking for a achhe din and big hopes from the government. And this is why we all as the industry and government and policy makers, implementers, EPC solution providers should sit together to discuss, to do a proper manthan, come out with the recommendations and forward it to the government for implementation.
India is today having about 250 gigawatts of power with about 1.3 billion people, as compared to China having 1250 gigawatts of power with 1.4 billion people. So our expectations from the government are to double the power generation. In short, what we were achieving over a period of 5 years, we now need to do that over a period of 1 year if we are to achieve a 9% growth target on the economic side.
Such events allow industry to engage and interact together, and also allow leaders within the industry, especially the government, to put forward their ideas and their thoughts, engage with members of the audience, and overall exchange ideas. I think it also allows an exchange of forward-looking thoughts, which are more long-term in nature than a lot of the short-term oriented ideas and thoughts that generally get discussed at industry events.